Hi everyone, so welcome to Investing for Value. So today I want to talk about NIO's second quarter report, and it's a good one because back in the first quarter report they decided that their guidance was around 9,500 to 10,000 vehicles for the second quarter, and guess what they produced? They did 10,331, which is extraordinary because not only did they meet the guidance, but they exceeded that. And in just to have some benchmark of how well they performed, well, we'll look back at the prior quarters. If we go back to quarter one, they did 3,800 vehicles. Quarter four, which was their best quarter last year, did 8,200 vehicles. And in quarter three was about 4,800. And if we do a same quarter to quarter comparison, they did 3,553 vehicles in quarter two last year. So that kind of tells you how far they've really made it in terms of their vehicle productions and sales. So if we look at June deliveries, they did 3,740 vehicles, and that's it's a massive month, and it's also a record for these guys, because if you imagine these numbers here, they did more vehicles last month than they did in nearly the whole of quarter one this year. So just 1 month is as much as the last quarter. Imagine everything going forward. So NIO is really building himself into a really strong, competitor. Probably not quite up there as with Tesla in terms of scale of production, but over time they're really cementing themselves in this EV space. And this is an area where multiple players can get a bit of the pie, and NIO will be one of those as well. So if we do a breakdown of the vehicle sales as well, so they do talk about out of the 3,740 vehicles sold in June, that 2,476 of those were ES6, which is a smaller and a slightly cheaper vehicle, compared to their ES8, which they sold 1,264. And if we benchmark that against their sales in the first quarter, they only sold 195 ES8s last quarter. When you compare that, they've sold about 10 times that in the June month alone. So that's kind of a real good sign of where things are headed and how well they're starting to really build this brand. And as we see from the CFO, he says, "We are pleased to deliver solid results by our competitive products, superior services, and expanding sales network. Our deliveries in the second quarter of 2020 exceeded the high end of our earlier projections, and we are confident that our goal on gross margins and operational efficiency will be achieved." So they haven't quite released their financials yet, but that will start to give us a better idea if they've actually started to improve. We still probably expect them to make a loss in the current quarter, but over time it's going to start to look even better, because as these guys scale up, they're just going to start looking at that break-even point. So, and like all things, even with Tesla was losing so much money for such a long time, and it took them probably producing 100,000 vehicles a quarter before they started to look at that profitable area. So for NIO, you're probably looking at them having to at least go at least 50,000 or more vehicles before we'd expect them to start to break even. So until then, overall, I think this is a pretty good quarter, and it's also reflecting that in the share price. The share price is looking pretty good. The market hasn't quite opened. We're still a couple of hours before the market opens. But until then, the share price has been ticking along really nicely. We're looking at a 17% rise currently, though we probably expect it to be going even more as time comes. And because they perform so well, and to just like benchmark the other EV stocks in this space, Originally I put a price tag around $10 for NIO, saying that would be a good fair value for them. But given how things have moved on, I would be inclined to say $12 to $15 would be where I would see NIO trading as on a fair value basis going forward. And until then, I think it still has quite a bit of room to go. Do I think it could get to $20? It probably can potentially by the end of the year, if not by next year. It certainly has that potential. So, let me know what your thoughts are, and, I'm always interested to hear those, along with any questions that you have. And yeah, like overall, I think this is a good result. If you're a holder in NIO, you're doing fairly well. You just have to hold on to a bit longer, at least until I'd say at least to the $12 zone, and maybe to 15 if you got the patience. And then we can see how things go from there. Until then, good luck investing, everyone.